thought maybe someone would see it out there. Maybe they would.
Yeah, you never know. It'll be floating around out there for a while. It might make it to them.
Yeah.
Just take a little while.
Right.
We rolling?
Yep, we're good.
Hey, guys.
Like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Leave a comment, thumbs up. We read all the comments. We reply to all the comments. We share them amongst ourselves. We talk about comments and things that are brought up previous shows on the next episode. So
yeah,
engage. Let's see what you guys have to say.
Yeah, we like the feedback, even if it's negative. Not everyone can be part of my fan club.
Right. That's fine too. That's the whole point. To talk. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not just to agree, but to talk.
Yeah. Actually, the idea is probably more to disagree and to talk it out, if anything.
Right.
You know?
I lived in an echo chamber long enough.
Yeah.
Ready to hear other opinions. See what people have to say, you know.
Sorry, I gotta do this response real
quick. Oh, okay. That's no big deal. We got nothing but time, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Christmas over, New Year's Eve. Today, as this is recording, 31st. Hope everybody stays safe out there. Be responsible. Find a DD or stay wherever you're at.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Be safe on the roads, man.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to go out there and destroy your life and your family's life because, you know, even if you don't get hurt, just getting pulled over is enough to set you back years financially, you know. End up divorced, who knows what. Just drink responsibly. Someone drive you, stay wherever you're going to go to.
Sorry about that.
Or don't drink at all.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the evening.
Yeah, just have fun. Have some snacks and, you know.
Watch some TV and just enjoy the company,
enjoy the
family and friends.
Last day of 2022. Wow, what a year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, a week ago. What day did we podcast? Friday?
Friday, yes.
Was it Friday?
Yeah, it was Friday.
Friday night?
Friday night.
Yeah, and we were looking at Snowmageddon, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday it was 53 degrees and all the snow's gone.
Yeah, can you believe it?
7 days.
Yeah, wait another 7, we'll be under a foot of snow again.
Don't say that. Oh, God, don't say that. I'm enjoying
I don't want the snow. I want the ice.
Yeah.
Bring the cold, that's fine. You know.
I'm definitely enjoying this weather. It's nice out there.
Yeah.
Man. So what's new?
I don't know, man. Lots of stuff, I guess, is going on. You know, it's funny because a lot of the content, you know, builders that I watch and pay attention to, some of this media that I consume, a lot of people take time off this week, you know, spend time with their family. But it's funny, I still catch stories here and there, like the world keeps going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The stories are still there, just no one's really reporting on them then. So, but because of that lag, because of that break, you know, I took time to kind of look back at some older stories that's been around for a while or whatnot, and, you know, things that aren't necessarily news, but just some good YouTube videos, things like that.
Right.
The one I sent you earlier from Colin Noir.
Yeah.
That was a really good video. A guy at a party. I mean, you know, 4th of July weekend. He's hanging out with friends, and they got family there. And the neighbor walks over and hangs out with him for a little bit, and then decides he's going to pull out a handgun and start shooting everybody. And the gentleman he was interviewing was the one who stopped the shooter after being shot in the head. Still managed to regain consciousness and put the shooter down. It was just an incredible story, but scary story, you know, just how fast and unprovoked that violence can be. Wow, it was an incredible story to listen to him recount it, you know.
Is it this one here?
Yeah.
They should at least give credit to
Yeah,
Raul Menendez.
Yeah, Raul Menendez. Yep.
I hope I
Just
did his name
just
justice
a
there. Mendes.
just definitely a hero. I mean, he prevented that guy from shooting a lot more people. Him and the moms that were in the house actually were just brave, just mama bear mode. You know, they locked themselves in bedrooms with the children and barricaded doors. And one of the moms actually fought the shooter hand to hand after being shot 2 or 3 times herself, if I remember the story correctly. And um, just a lot of bravery in that house. So wow.
Yeah, people. It's on Coleon Noir's podcast. I think it's as of the taping of this one. It's
Second one down.
second one down. This armed citizen stopped a mass shooting, and
So
the mainstream media didn't want to cover it.
he put it on October 9th, 2022 is the air date for that show. Yeah, incredible. So, real inspiring, you know.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it was just horrific listening.
I haven't heard it. You were telling me
Yeah,
about
I
it.
sent it to you kind of late, and
Yeah.
you know, a little too late for you to be able to consume it and get into it here. But
Yeah.
you'll have to check it out when you have time. It's pretty crazy. So what else is new?
I don't know. Let's get in that video you sent me the other day.
Going right for it.
Yeah.
You know what?
Well.
You know what we should do? We should bring up that video, because if you go into the search and you just punch it in, the guy celebrating his friend having an abortion, it'll bring it up, and then we can play a clip of it. Then the viewers can hear it for themselves and make up their own mind, and then we'll hash into it. Because I searched it and it did bring it up that way. Yeah, I think it might be that one. So in the first 2 or 3, I found it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But it was a debate we got into a few days back. I sent a video. Yeah, this will show a portion of it. It doesn't show the whole video, but
hello, and welcome to A Day in the Life. Today I'm joining a friend to get the life sucked out of her.
Then back it up so that everyone can hear it.
Well, the problem is I'd have to find. I have to find a source here.
I think he originally was aired on his TikTok, but I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. Well, people can look it up anyway.
You can't play the YouTube video?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if we're allowed to, because it's, because we don't. I'm not sure how that works, because this isn't a media source. This is someone else's YouTube. You know
True.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know that. But people can.
Yeah, tell them what you punched.
I just googled "guy celebrates friend's abortion."
So it
was the first YouTube video right at the top of Google's page.
Basically, there's a young man that is recording a TikTok video. His friend, who's a female, is going to have an abortion that day, and he is excited and mocking it in a very disgusting way. He said a lot of really bad things. He's scrambling eggs in one part of it, talking about how she's going to get her eggs scrambled, and he even celebrates at the end with a bowl of ice cream with an extra spoon for this child, and he's out jogging so that he can lose a couple pounds, because she's going to lose a couple pounds today, and a lot of stuff even worse than that. It's really hard to watch. So I found the video on one of the YouTubers I follow. He had posted it, and I forwarded it to my partner here, who I guess maybe we're going to disagree on this a little bit. I didn't think that we would, but I kind of got the impression. Anyways, we didn't get into it. We just grazed the surface a little bit and dropped it and saved it for the podcast today, so real time. I have no idea what he thinks, and I'll guarantee he really doesn't know what I think either. So let's hash it out.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
My initial thought when I saw the video was troll. These people
Right.
are trolling conservatives
Right.
to create outrage.
Yeah.
That's my initial instinct when I watch this video. It's just too
On the
it's
nose.
too scripted. There's too many points they touch on. The scrambling of the eggs.
Right.
I'm gonna run because I think it's a troll.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's a troll.
It was hard when you seen the and of course she's in the video on and off, but usually from the back. You don't ever really see her face.
Mm-hmm.
You do see her being pregnant, rubbing her belly.
Well, we see what seems to be like a bump bulge.
Yeah, she looked pregnant.
Again,
appeared in the video. I wasn't there. I didn't shoot it, but it does appear that she's pregnant.
That's what they're trying to imply in the video.
You see them like leaving an office type area after the abortion was complete. So it might be mocked.
But they never show a clinic they're going into. They show them getting in an elevator in an obscure hallway.
And then leaving the office area, going out.
Right, but they don't actually show like they're going into a Planned Parenthood.
So you don't know. And maybe they can't. I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know how that
but
works.
Here's my problem. You're watching a former CIA guy.
Yeah, he was a Marine. I think he might have been a SEAL.
I think he worked for the CIA.
Yeah, I think he did do some training for them. He's a Marine, a combat vet, for sure.
I'm pretty sure he's former CIA.
Yeah, he might have done some CIA too, but I know he's a Marine.
So what I see here is...
And he had seen combat, yes.
What I see here is... it's sick perspective to look at, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they don't intentionally put agitator influencers out there to agitate their base.
Well, they have. January 6th. They got them on video doing it.
Right. So what makes you believe that they wouldn't put prominent YouTubers out there?
I think for absolute, I agree with you 100%. I believe they would. That's kind of my domain, the conspiracy theory stuff. Like, that's always where my mind goes to a deeper place of, all right, who's benefiting from this?
But
why?
If I can look at that video and it's just blatantly obvious that is satire, that was made to outrage conservatives and get them sharing this video.
Well, whether the abortion was real or not, the intent of the video was to mock it and to piss conservatives off.
Right. And then you have this guy out there promoting it as it's real and driving it to his base to aggravate them. It's no different than the other CIA guy you watch.
Right.
And his whole email list got leaked to the FBI.
Right.
Well, how much more convenient would it be than if I was former CIA, I go on YouTube, say I'm not part of that anymore, I'm for the prepper movement, I'm for the conservatives, I'm for the this group on this side of the aisle. Join my group, start talking amongst yourselves using my app or my program. What better way to capture the communications of the people that you want?
Throwing a net over the people that, they're going to swim into the net, right? Sure.
That's the way I see the majority.
Now, this particular YouTuber I've watched for a long time and had always been a voice of reason. When I seen outrage happening, he always was one that would tamp it down and say, no, let's not do that. Like, this is what they want. It's only recently where I've seen him get riled up and very...
Well, because it's too easy to call it out as an agitator. You watch at these rallies, they point out the FBI guys. Fed. So it'd be too easy if he came out.
Sure.
Any storm into the front line. Hey, guys.
I don't know him on a personal level. I've been watching him for years.
I'm just saying.
Could he be? Maybe.
I'm not saying any of these guys still are. I'm just saying how I see it.
Sure.
It's just how my mind works when I see.
But the message that you gave me was, well, you guys are gonna have an issue with this guy making this video
Right.
coming from a guy that protected oil wells in Iraq.
Right.
And my first thought was, well, what the hell has that got to do with anything? Because for one, I speak out against war all the time.
My point was, if these guys, my point was that this life, we have to be outraged about the taking of this life, but these other lives were somehow justified.
Sure, I seen your point there, but because I could see a difference between being in the military, being sent overseas, and I disagree with that war. Man, it was a terrible war. We should have never been there. But shooting at someone that's shooting back at you versus an unborn child, I think there's still a strong contrast and difference there between the two. An innocent unborn child versus what I said was an insurgent, and you rightfully said, well, if they were, maybe they're freedom fighters. I guess some people can.
Right. That's
one person's insurgency is another person's rebellion, right?
That's more to my point, that if any other nation in the world came here and said, we're invading your country because the atrocities your government committed against our country,
right? What
are you going to do?
Exactly. We'd be part of the rebellion, right?
Right.
So I can say that fairly and say that that's a great point. But my point is whether or not he was a veteran or he was a priest, he put the content out because this guy made a video of himself being an asshole. Okay, this ain't going to be very family friendly for a few minutes because I got pretty fired up.
Right.
We're putting ourselves out there in media right now. In real time, we're debating this, and it's a very sensitive, hot topic subject. So there's a portion of these people that might agree with us or agree with one of us and not the other. There might be people that's watching this right now that's going to hate us by the end of this.
Right.
But no one made us we could have sat at home in private, done this debate over coffee, and no one would have been the wiser. We put it out there.
Right.
So there's consequences to that. The reason, these are on. This guy made a video of himself being an ass, and I had a strong opinion about him being a disgusting person.
Yeah.
That being said, I never once felt he didn't have the right to do it. I absolutely stand by my convictions there that, you know what, you have the right to be a dick if you want. But if someone smacked you in the mouth for being a dick, I'm not going to cry for you, right? Or
then how does that make those people any better than Antifa going out and punching people wearing MAGA hats in the face?
If you're going to wear a MAGA hat in an area, look, and again, it's not right to go out and have violence against anybody. I don't like violence. I don't want any violence. But the guy that wore the and I got to be fair, he wore a MAGA hat in Oregon in an area that was full of Antifa. What did you expect to happen to yourself walking down the road? Are you trying to antagonize the opposite side? And if you do, and they punch you in the head, well, I mean, it's... But this guy made a video and put it out to the world of him behaving disgusting. And my whole point is he had the right to make the video, sure. I have the right to not like it. Right? And to think he's a piece of shit, for lack of better words. I think you are. If you are that, whether or not, however I feel about abortion on a personal level, like, this isn't whether or not I believe in abortion or don't. It's the way the guy behaved about it, and you could tell, like you said, he's trolling. Whether the abortion was real or not, he's trolling.
Right.
He's trying to get that reaction, and it was just disgusting. It just was terrible. And I don't think anyone should punch him in the face. I'm not saying that. Just to be clear, I don't think anyone should hit him. I'm just saying if someone smacked him on the beak, if he was making that video and someone was there And
well,
you
what
know,
right
I
would
wouldn't.
anybody have to punch him in the face for exercising his First Amendment right?
I don't
to
think
free
anyone
speech?
should. I just said that. I don't think anyone should hit him, but I'm not going to cry that someone did.
I would,
you
because
know,
it's his
because
freedom of speech. It's
you
his
know,
freedom of expression
right.
to go out there and say whatever he wants, whether it offends someone or not.
But we had this
So
conversation
we
about free
can't sit,
speech before.
we can't sit here and say that we're outraged about people on the left at Twitter and their feelings being hurt about things that we want to post about guns,
Right.
and then sitting here saying our feelings are hurt about what some guy's posting about abortion. It's the same thing. Either we have the freedom to say what we want, and okay, it's going to offend some people. So what's the difference between you getting your feelings hurt about this and someone at Twitter getting their feelings hurt about you showing a gun and feeling threatened and scared and wanting to censor you?
Right. But
that's more to my point is.
But we're sitting here right now, and there's no 2A, pro 2A, nothing in the background. Like you know what I mean? Because of our beliefs, like we are being censored.
It's not that we're being. I want
we
people.
Gotta watch what we say on this channel.
I want people to hear an opinion before they form an opinion.
Right.
That's my point.
I like that.
That's my only point. It's no different than.
I don't think anybody should hit the guy.
It's no
I'm
different.
Just saying, there's consequences to what you do. It's like
people
feeling bad because some celebrity's got a death threat against them or some weird sycophant. Well, I mean, once you're famous, that's fame, right? Yeah. Like Tim Pool says a lot of times, he's worried about the guy that is mad because Tim stole all his spoons and hit him on the moon. Like there's people in the world like that.
I'm not saying that what the guy. I'm not see. People are going to take this out of context. I'm not saying I agree with what the guy said was right. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about freedom of speech and freedom of expression.
Yeah, he had the right
Either
to do
we have it or we don't. If I keep saying we're, and I need to be more careful with my words. But if people on the right are complaining about people on the left censoring them because they say their feelings are getting hurt.
Right.
But then as soon as someone on the left says something that hurts their feelings, they want to get outraged and be butthurt. But what are we doing?
Yeah, I get
we're canceling each other out.
Right. Don't be a hypocrite about it.
Right.
I agree.
We're grown-ass adults.
But the whole reason I sent that video in the first place wasn't even about freedom of speech or anything. My whole point, and you sent me that message back right away about him being in the military and shooting people, and it just kind of threw me off because freedom of speech really had nothing to do with my initial thought was, wow, this is exactly what I was talking about the degeneration of society and where are we at as a civilization, as a human species, when we can't protect the most vulnerable people among us. And then you see videos like this of this guy celebrating, absolutely gleeful about this child that's going to be scrambled and sucked out, which he says, that's his words, he's going to get it sucked out of her. The life sucked out of her, which is funny because they say it's not a life, but yet he claims it is twice in the video. It was sad to me to see, and then other videos we've seen where people with children doing inappropriate things and celebrating it, and now it's not even this dirty little secret that's hidden. Like, Epstein Island was hidden, right? Like they tried to hide that shit for a long time. Now it's just celebrated, and it's just the world's changing, and some of the changes in it I really don't like. It scares me for my children.
My point about the killing thing was, if this person's so outraged about this innocent life being taken, but they weren't thinking about that when they were, again, when I see other people in other countries, I don't know if they're protecting their own city and their own home because they feel like they're being invaded.
I'm sure some of them were.
So they're being shot.
I'm sure some of them were. But then you're also making this like moral high ground of this guy doesn't have the moral authority to be outraged about the way the guy was behaving. He didn't even speak out against abortion. I don't think in the video. I think it was just more, and I could be wrong, but I think it was more about the way the guy was behaving about it. And make some sort of connection to, well, you've been a soldier who's taken life, and somehow we know how he felt about that. Maybe I don't know. I'm sure he's taken life. How he really feels about it on the inside, I really don't know. I know a lot of soldiers come back off foobarred because of what they went through. They got post-traumatic stress. They seen their friends get killed. They've killed people. A lot of stories I've read about soldiers is they have a hard time sleeping at night because of the shit they did.
Right.
Now, I imagine there is a portion of them that are just sickos, that they like it. They get into the military so they can kill people. But I don't think the majority of the military is like that. I think a lot of them are remorseful for what they had to
I'm not saying that he's not. That's not the point I was making. Was he's so outraged about this? Why? Why is he making this video?
Well, you know what? I think it's twofold. I think one, it probably did offend him. The same reason we're talking about it right now. Like, we're debating it.
Well, I'm debating his reaction.
And then some of it's probably clickbait too. You know what I mean?
Why is he putting this out there?
I wouldn't say clickbait. I think that's the wrong word, but
Is it because he knows who his audience is and the demographic, and he knew this would get outrage amongst them?
It could be some of it. I don't think it would be all of it. Not watching him as long as I have, I do give him a certain amount of respect. And in that same video, he was saying other things that I completely disagreed with. Like, I'm not a sycophant of his by any means, because the initial story he opened up with was a woman in her mid-30s that died in the snowstorm, and I think it could have been upstate New York. Maybe she was on her way to work, or on her way home from work. She was on her way home from work and got stuck, and rescue vehicles got stuck trying to get to her, and she ended up passing away. And he was telling the story and made I think I understood what he was trying to do, but man, it lit me up. Talking about, well, she was a great worker. I mean, she had great work ethic, because a lot of people, I mean, they call in because, there's a hurricane on the other side of the country, or, it's going to rain today, so I'm going to call in. And, here's this woman going to work and making a living in the worst blizzard. And I thought, do you think that really comforted her family at all? You know what I mean? Like, oh, so when I die, they're going to put on my headstone, hey, here's fat guy, but he's a good worker, right? At least he was a good worker. And it was almost a little offensive, but I think he was just trying to give her some respect, and I don't know. It was weird, but so I'm not a sycophant of his I disagree with him a lot. Actually, a lot of the stuff he puts out, I do disagree with, but
I just don't know the point. I don't know what value it
I don't know.
adds.
You'd have to ask him.
No, I'm not even saying from him. I'm saying again, a lot of this is irrelevant because I don't pay attention to that YouTuber.
Right.
I give it zero attention.
Right.
And I give stories like this zero attention because it doesn't add any value to my life. It doesn't change anything in my life, and why people would be upset. Like, so you want more people like that in this world? Isn't it natural selection?
I think when you should highlight what you would consider to be bad behavior and talk about it. I think because the pressure, societal pressure, can change this so that you don't need laws and the police to kick in a door because you made a video. You know what I mean? Like smoking. You know what? Smoking, everyone used to smoke. They smoked on TV. They smoked in cartoons. We grew up watching cartoons that they smoked in. Looney Tunes. They smoked cigars and stuff. Yosemite Sam smoked. But now you see a lot of people don't smoke, or the people who do are trying to quit. And why is it? It's not because it's illegal. It's just because society kind of looks down on it. You're almost shamed when and I know, being an ex-smoker for lots of years of my life, walking up to the store across the parking lot, and you're smoking your cigarette on the way in, and you get them people looking at you sideways. You start to feel a little like, maybe I don't want to do this, and it is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing?
I think they're trying not to promote it like they used to.
But I think society itself, I think there's far more people now that look down their nose at smokers. Ew, they stink. Ew, they smell bad. You can't smoke in a restaurant because it bothers us. Even if they have a smoking area that's separate, like you can't even smoke indoors anymore. And I think it was the social pressure that allowed those rules to change and to make it harder for people to enjoy a cigarette where they want. You know what I mean? Like it's legal to do. They're legalizing smoking marijuana while they're pushing you to not smoke nicotine. But in the end, if less people smoke cigarettes, to me, it's a good thing. I think like abortion. I will be the first one to say I do not want it to be illegal. I don't want the government involved in this. I don't want a law about it. But I don't want people to do them either. If there's a way around it, I don't want innocent children just like, I don't want people like that celebrating. I think he put it out there, right? And if there's not pushback against it, then that's the narrative. And I think it's us being quiet and not speaking out against this shit that's allowed this to come this far, where now you got people trying to normalize molesting children, normalize being sexually attracted to children. 20 years ago, no one was going to say that out loud, because everyone in that bar was going to bump on somebody.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's still two separate issues. I know you're trying to link them together as a
I
society.
know they're separate issues, but I'm just as an example of how when you see it, and maybe he did put it out there to get some outrage to play to his base of fans. Maybe it could have been.
So who do you think they're going to convince? Do you think they're going to convince staunch Republican voting conservative Catholic
to sway their way?
To go get an abortion?
No.
So who are they convincing then?
They're just reinforcing it to their group, to their base, right?
And their base already knows it and accepts it. That's more.
But you don't think reaching out, you don't change some minds? I think pretending that these things are not happening.
I'm not saying pretending they're not happening. I'm saying
or not addressing them doesn't help it either.
I just don't see the value in even promoting that content unless you're trying to outrage people on your side further, to further entrench your army.
Some divides, maybe there should be. Because I think when you get one side that gets to scream in your face constantly, and then the other side that's constantly being told, no, just keep your opinions to yourself, be polite, don't speak out. God, if you say the wrong word, you're gonna get shadow banned, right? Like
I don't even think the majority of people in this country would view that video and go, "Yay, that's good."
See,
good for.
I think more people do.
I don't. I can.
And that's where me and you disagree.
I can almost guarantee you, it's less than 10% of the whole U.S. population would applaud at that video.
Because, and this could be trolling too, but while he was on there doing the video, showing what this guy was, how he was behaving, he got a super chat from someone from that side that was really nasty. You know what I mean? Like they actually spent money to insult him.
Yeah.
I just think some behavior you should speak out against. I don't think it should be illegal. I think he's got the right to do it, but I think people should then have the right to call him out on it. I think that's fair.
I just don't see the value in being outraged.
You tell our people all the time, call us out on if we're wrong. Tell us that we're wrong. Tell us why we're wrong. Let's debate it. How can you have a debate if you're not allowed to speak your side? How is that fair? That is censorship then,
But he wasn't trying, the person that made the video wasn't trying to debate whether this was a good thing.
He was trying to outrage people, but it is an opening to be able to have that conversation like me and you are having right now, and people that are watching this are thinking right now, because maybe there are some people who's on the look, me and you I'm not going to speak for you. Me, myself, I've been on both sides of this back and forth a dozen times. I can't nail down exactly how I feel about it because it's complicated and it's hard and it depends on the day. And, one day I feel very strongly like I think I got this. And the next day, I watch a video. I see someone that had to have an abortion that kind of pulled on my heartstrings, and I thought, well, I never thought of it that way. So you are constantly trying to evolve your way of thinking. So am I. There are other people who are doing that. And now we're having the conversation because this guy acted like an asshole, right? So it does open the door to be able to start to address this stuff, because I think to have subjects that are dirty little, like, we shouldn't.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying putting attention on things sometimes exacerbates them and makes it
I can concede
more
that.
frequent.
Sure. He got, serial killers, right? They want their name,
Right.
or they say, like, people who do mass shootings don't name them because copycatters or people want that glory. Yeah, I think there's definitely something to that, but to not address it either, to not, I don't know.
It would have been
hard.
one thing to throw the video. I'm not saying the person that made the video. I'm saying anybody that wanted to commentate on it, right? Had they thrown the video up and just said, what do you guys think's going on here? This trolling, do you think it's legit? Do you think this is the left trying to get the right fight? Had it been rolled out like that, instead of rolled out like, look, guys, this is what they're doing over there. This is really bad. What, can you believe this? Look at how snide he's being about this shit. Look what he's doing. Versus throwing out there going, let's have a talk about whether this is just, trying to get people worked up.
What if he does really believe that the guy in the video, that video is legit, and he's outraged by it?
I think he's way too smart. If I can look at that video in 10 seconds and realize this guy is completely trolling, whether the abortion happened or not. Nobody just
he was rubbing it to conservatives.
Right.
Yeah.
He was trolling.
The first 4 seconds of it, you pretty much could tell this guy he was trying to rub anybody who was conservative. He was trying to rub their face in shit. Anyone that was, pro-life, right?
Right.
For sure. But again, what did I do? I shared it.
Right.
I did the same thing.
So you can't tell me the gentleman that was showing this video way more educated than I am, way more social media exposure than I have. That's what bothers me. He wasn't having a conversation just to whether or not.
I guess the way I seen it was he's starting to call this behavior out. I think he had drawn a line himself, from what I've watched over the years, where he was constantly the voice of reason of just, no, let's not go there. Now he's very much like, we're there, and we need to call this stuff out, and he's being more aggressive about calling that stuff out. I don't know. I tend to believe him that it was authentic more than probably you do, but who knows? In the end, in reality, I don't know the guy. I've never had a conversation with him, so what his true motivation is, I don't know. But I'm glad that he put it out there. I'm glad because other people didn't, and I wouldn't have seen it. And I'm glad that I had the chance to see it, because to me, these are the gauges of where I'm measuring. There was a time where no one would have been comfortable putting a video out like that. No way. No way.
So is that necessarily bad?
There are good parts about it, right? Like the freedom,
right?
As long as the freedom's fair. But see, now we got to sit here and talk in code and watch how we say things about a guy that blatantly aired his opinion and his feelings out, and that was fine. YouTube, everybody, all the social media be completely okay with that. And if I call this guy out, we're going to get shadow banned, or we got to watch how we say things. So,
I'm not saying that.
It's not fair across the board yet.
That's another
but
issue.
To be able to put your views out there, is that a good thing? Yeah, sure it is. And like I said right from the get-go, he has a right to do it. I don't think people should, step on his First Amendment rights to be able to say shit like that. I just think it shows when there is zero fear from a group of people to be able to put sick, twisted shit like that out to public, out to the open, to everyone, and air it. It just says a lot of how this country's changed throughout our lifetime. And countries are always going to change. They're always, Rome did, Greece did, every ancient civilization you can find changed over the years. We're going to too. Things cannot stay exactly the way they were. It's not 1776. We don't have muskets. I understand. But it's up to us how the country changes, and to push back when some things are changing that you disagree with, then you have the right to push back against that. And there are things that are changing here that I don't like. They make me very uncomfortable, and it's not creating, I just don't think we're going in the direction of a to have the country that I wanted my children raised in. Well, two of them are raised, but I have a 2-year-old that, God willing, has a long life ahead of him. What kind of world are we turning over to our children and grandchildren? Like, it should be a better place, and I don't think it is now. So I guess that's the difference between us, on that.
Yeah. It's not that either one of us are wrong here.
Right.
That's why
right.
people listening to understand.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. And
Right.
your ideas are your ideas, and your opinions are your
Sure,
opinions.
and yours are
I'm trying
the
to
same, and I
flush out.
respect them.
I'm trying to flush out and understand
Right.
in real time here how I feel about a lot of complicated things.
These are hard things.
People I don't even know what they're saying.
And why, what their motivations are, and know, and I'll concede maybe his outrage was playing to his base. It could have been, or maybe he's just a American loving veteran that really is offended by that. He says he's a Christian.
Yeah. He's
quoted some scripture, so maybe he is. I don't know. The devil said he was a Christian too to a lot of people, right? False prophet. So maybe. Do you ever really know the people watching us? Do they really know us?
Right.
You know what I mean, or what we really think? I wish sometimes we didn't have to do all this and just could be ourselves, but.
This goes back to like your circle of control. What you have, you have no control over that. And like you said, my son to grow up in this kind of country. Mm-hmm. And this will go all the way back to that book we were talking about a couple episodes ago. It shouldn't matter what book is in your kid's library. It's how you raise your kids dictates how they turn out. If you're more driven and focused on your own personal endeavors and your own selfish priorities, and you want the school just to raise your kids the way you want your kids raised, well, shame on you.
Right.
It's your job to raise your kids. I can tell you right now, it don't matter what book's in my kid's library because of how I raise my kids. I don't care if they put a Playboy in that library. I don't care what magazine, book they put in. It has zero effect on my kids because of how I raise them. People need to step up and take more personal responsibility for raising their kids and quit worrying about how the school's going to raise their kids.
I agree. Schools should not be raising your children. And the personal responsibility of being a engaged, active parent. I think in a lot of ways the way you and I reared kids were similar. I don't think we're way apart as parents' styles. But so there's I agree that I believe there's some amount of truth to what you're saying. Absolutely. But I think to feel that, well, I'm such a great parent, this shit could never happen to my children because I raised them. So everything that happened to these other children, their parents deserved it because they did a piss poor job, I don't think is necessarily true either. You got to be careful with that because kids are influenced by other kids, right? And I think you made this comment a minute ago, like, oh, there's nothing we can do about that, what's happening. That guy that made the video, and there's nothing we can do about that. I think this is what we do about it. We speak out against it. We hopefully have some sort of effect on society, the cultural issues of society to help keep culture in the direction we want. Because that's what they're doing. Right? So by us doing nothing, then we're giving it to them. And I think the bar has been moved way down the road, and I don't think it was necessarily all bad parenting. I don't think it all was. I think some of it was. And we know that parents got really busy. You ended up with homes where both parents worked. Then you got daycare raising kids, and you got schools. I think my tinfoil hat I think that was the plan from the get-go. I think they wanted to. That's why schools are full of teachers and professors that think a certain way, right, versus the other. And I think it was always the plan to take parents out of the home so that they didn't have the influence over their children that they used to have, and let these other people teach them bad shit. I guess.
I don't think it. I personally, I don't think the one had anything to do with the other.
Yeah.
Again, I think it was our own greed that led to two parents working.
Yeah.
I absolutely think it was our own greed.
Oh, I think that, sure, we were greedy about it, but I think that
and
greed
we did
was
it to ourselves.
I think we were manipulated a lot in that greed through marketing and advertising, and being told that. I think the same thing that's happening right now with TikTok and how they're showing not just TikTok, but social media in general, and the effect it has on children. And, you get brainwashed. And I think advertising, I think you can see the correlation between TV and cable and the constant bombardment of commercials and infomercials. I think they all ran parallel together. I think that they tapped into our greed. I think all humans have some greed in them. Inherently, I think it's just part of our DNA. But I think people understood that, and they manipulated society with it to convince us that we need two cars, that your kid needs an iPhone when they're 9 years old, right?
But I don't think they did it to
phone.
destroy the American way. I think they just did it out of their own greed to make more money for
I think there's a lot of companies that did, but I do believe that there's people behind those big companies that wanted to destroy the family.
I just don't see some big overlord in a
because
black
these
coat
were the things
standing up there going, "How can I destroy it?"
These were the things that I was told as a kid growing up, that there's people that want to do this, and they're going to, given the chance, and it's a conspiracy. And now you see life. I remember, and look, man, I don't care what people do with their sexual preferences. I could care less. If you love someone, you want to marry someone, marry them. I don't care. It's not my business. But there was an argument being made that when gay marriage, so here we're going to get into it now. We're so getting demonetized that eventually it would lead to some of these issues we're dealing with now. That, well, what's going to stop, when you say love wins, what's going to stop someone from marrying their horse? And now you see people run around with butt plugs with furry tails hanging off and dressed up like giant squirrels and puppies, and like, these were the things that were warned about 30 years ago.
Again, I don't know.
So you can't say it didn't happen.
But causation isn't correlation isn't causation either. Just because one thing happened doesn't mean it was a result of why the other thing happened. If someone wants to dress up, I'm still confused.
But are you okay with that person dressing up and going into a school? Because I don't care if they dress up. I could care less. Do you want them doing story time with your child, and you think that somehow you're going to counter influence that? You know what I mean?
You got to be careful here, because these aren't just people going. These are people taking their kids to these things.
But some of these are happening in schools.
I haven't seen any happen.
So we'll circle back to that one in the next show then, because I'll send you some videos so that we can.
I've only heard of the ones where parents have taken their kids to these specific things.
So we'll circle back to that so that you have a chance to digest some of that too, and because I don't want to catch anyone off balance. That doesn't make for a good conversation either. So some of them I've seen have been pretty bad, and I just think that people didn't push back because they're afraid. No one wants to speak out. God, you know what? Look at how stressed we get just touching on some of these subjects.
I think the areas these things happen in, it's just accepted in these areas that they're fine with it there.
But see, I disagree 100%, because where I'm seeing these are happening in small towns in Virginia and Texas and Florida and in places that are absolutely conservative, very red, but were happening under the nose. I think a lot of this is only known because of COVID and kids being taught at home and parents starting to catch like, wait, what? You're learning what? Like I wasn't taught this when I was in 6th grade. Why are they even, remember the video I sent you of the teacher complaining because he had 3rd graders and he wanted to be able to talk about his partner to his class, and me and you had the conversation of, well, when we were in school, I didn't know if Mrs. Johnson was married or not until you were old enough to understand Mrs. and Miss, right? Or if she happened to be pregnant and had a baby, she was gone on maternity leave and came back. But we didn't know shit about our teachers' personal lives. It wasn't our business. We were there to learn how to spell, how to read, how to write, how to add, how to use cursive. We weren't. The
Right,
teachers didn't have that kind of relationship with
this
their
is one
students.
teacher that got exposure on TikTok that made a video.
Right, because
okay,
he made the video
right.
of it.
My kids never came home and said, "Oh, my teacher was talking to me about blah." And
Right.
to the thing that you said about online schooling during the vid,
Yeah.
again, what weren't these parents paying attention to?
Right.
That they had to catch it on a video.
Yeah, I think
a
lot of parents screwed up by trusting school districts too much and not. And I said this 2 videos ago when we started to touch on this, that I felt parents should be very engaged in the schools that their children are in.
I know every one of my kids' teachers' names. I go to their conferences.
Right.
I email teachers when there's a problem with homework or a grade hasn't been entered.
Yeah.
Let's send them an email. There's a problem in the class. Let's sit down and talk with the teacher, the principal, and the school counselor. I go in and have these meetings.
Thinking school was like it was when they were kids. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sending my kid to school, and
I think too many people get caught up in their own bullshit and their selfish endeavors in their life and the life they're pursuing, and they want someone else to raise their kids.
I think there's some of that, sure. I don't think it's all that, because that's way too many parents, and I find it hard to believe that, the majority of parents don't give a shit, because there was a lot of outrage once these things started to come to light. You've seen different people being elected into school boards. You've seen change happen,
right?
Which was good. That was good that it came to light, and you've seen a lot of outrage. So I don't think the majority.
I'm just saying, what were these people that are outraged focusing on before then? Weren't they going to parent-teacher conference night? Weren't they monitoring their kids' homework and their grades? Weren't they talking to them about the classes they were struggling in?
I can only speak
who do
for
we
me.
need to email? Who do we need to have a meeting with?
But I know that even myself, I was guilty of that. I did not know my middle son through high school. I didn't know every one of his teachers, and I'd go to the parent-teacher conferences, sure, and I talked to him about school. I was very much interested in what he was learning, but a lot of these students now are being told, like, don't talk to your parents. They're being taught not to trust their parents as that person of responsibility, that person that they can trust to come to help them solve their problems. These things are wedge issues that they're using to separate kids from their parents so that they can be indoctrinated into this shit.
And again, when I hear that, I automatically assume the teacher's probably giving the kid more attention than their parents are giving them at home. The game's on. Just go away. The game's on. I ain't got time.
I'm sure
I ain't got
there's
time
some
for
of
that.
that.
Or, mom's drinking wine on Facebook. I ain't got time right now.
Right.
Just go away. So so they find attention from the teacher at school. Oh, this person pays attention, listens to me.
So because there was some bad parents, you should never speak out about this?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
saying that's what I'm asking.
The people that are outraged, I don't feel a lot of sympathy, because obviously
I get outraged by it, and I think I was a pretty good dad. I think I'm I'm not a perfect father by any means. Like I said, I obviously wasn't as engaged, I don't think, in my middle son's school as you were, right? Like, I think you were probably more engaged in that. I think I had I was naive and I had a little more trust in the system then
And it's
than
not,
I do now.
and it wasn't that I was suspecting, and this is before any of this shit was brought to light.
Right.
Even though it was brought to light while my kids were online school, right? So it's not like my kids were all done with school and then this is something new in the last couple of years. No, they were active all the way through this.
Yeah, and I don't think it happens in every single school, because I don't want to dog every teacher, every principal, every superintendent, every janitor in a school. You know what I mean? I don't think it's every school. I just think it's becoming more and more of them, and we should push back if that's what you believe.
But I'm not. My point here to finish my thought is, I wasn't doing these things because I thought any of this stuff was happening that we're talking about.
It was just your parental
I did this because it's my responsibility to raise these young versions of myself and my wife into good, young, respectful adults.
And you did it the way you felt was best.
By being engaged.
Other parents
by not being too busy to
do it other ways.
I know, but
how can you say which one is better?
I'm not saying saying which one's better. I'm saying this is why it didn't catch me by surprise, and this is why it didn't matter what they were saying in that classroom or what book they put in that library, because I had done my job. So it didn't matter. I didn't have to be outraged. I didn't have to peek around the corner and go, "Oh my God, they're teaching you that?" Because I have conversations with them. What's going on in the classroom? Anything new today? What was said? You know, we still have these conversations today.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I've seen you have the conversations. So
I think had people had more of these conversations, they wouldn't have been caught off guard and been outraged.
Yeah, maybe they could have caught it sooner. You know, maybe they could have prevented some of it from even happening. I think it was very sneaky, and I don't think every parent that this wool got pulled over their eyes or got caught off guard, I don't think was a bad parent or not doing their job.
And that's not what I'm saying.
I know, but that's kind of what it sounded. So we want to make sure that's, well, I mean, I guess you can make sure that's how you feel, but I think it was very sneaky, and it was done in the background, and I think a lot of people were distracted, probably like you said, with, trying to have a better house, work extra overtime. I just told you that guy on YouTube was bragging about this girl who died. Hey, man, she was a great worker, right? So I think in some ways we kind of got neutered as parents too. We get pushed to believe I got to work 70 hours a week, right? And my wife's got to work 70 hours a week because we got to buy this house and these things, or we're shit parents if we don't. And then who's watching the kids? So I think these things coming to light are good, because I hope it slows people down a little bit. Maybe you live with a little less, so that you can have more time. It's changed me, because I think I fell in that trap of wanting to gauge how good of a parent I am by how much shit I could buy my kid. You know what I mean? Like, I think, and a lot of people fell in that trap. And like you said, there's no book to teach you how to be a good parent. It's experience, right? It's doing it and working really hard at it. I think some parents are really good in some aspects, maybe not so good in others. The school thing, I probably was not as engaged. I wasn't as engaged then as I will be now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. I'm different,
well, that's good.
For sure. Because I'm more aware of this stuff, that it happens, and it happens in small areas. It ain't just inner city, big giant schools in the middle of Chicago.
It can happen anywhere.
Right. A lot of these, they want it in the red areas, in the smaller conservative areas, because that's where they're going to have the greatest influence, and the inner city, a lot of them kids probably think like their parents, who think that way anyway. So
I know people are going to take what I was saying out of context. Again, I'm fleshing out complicated ideas in real time here. I'm not saying I'm a great parent. I did just an amazing job. All I'm saying is, when it came to online school, I wasn't surprised by anything. I wasn't outraged by anything, because it had no effect on me and my family.
I was surprised how much there was. Not that I always thought there was some, you know what I mean? Like
And
I
if parents
remember,
are more engaged because of that, then something good came out of it.
yeah,
If they are
hopefully,
paying attention more, if they are going to more parent-teacher
hmm
conferences, if they are monitoring their homework more, if they are sending emails when
right.
homework assignments aren't getting logged in and asking those questions, then something good came
But
out of it.
I look around the world now and I see like society being okay with colleges having areas for there's no white people allowed here, right? Like segregation,
Yeah.
which this was everything we were against as a culture in this country, and like everything's getting flipped upside down and backwards now. And I think it's because a lot of people didn't push back and they didn't speak out because we're afraid to. You know what I mean? Like you get canceled, you get shut down, and I think in conservatives always people who are kind of conservative way of thinking feel the truth's going to come out, right? Like you can say you're a horse, but you're not really a horse. The truth's going to come out, and I think that we made a mistake as a society by because I don't think it's the majority of people believe that. I think it's a small minority, but they're loud and they're aggressive, and people don't speak out against it. And I think that allowed this to fester and to grow and to gain momentum. And now it's kind of cool. Like I don't know, from what I understand, like it's neat to be a Furby now, right? Where
I don't know.
15
Again,
years ago, you know,
I pay zero attention to it.
yeah,
Like, again, no effect on my life. Brings no value to my life worrying about if someone wants to dress up like a teddy bear or a fox or a wolf. Like, okay.
see, culture. I believe culture drives policy. So as we go down this road, we pick as a people what path we want to travel, and as we go down the road, the laws reflect that. So I think eventually it does affect you, whether it was your kid being taught that directly in school or not. Eventually, laws catch up to culture, and then things get passed like you don't need to have a handgun. You can have a shotgun to go hunting. Why do you need a handgun? Or why would you need an AR-15? Um, you can have a
That's
bolt
a
action 22. So laws,
that's a big leap from dressing up like an animal
not really,
to
because when you see the people who dress up like animals, inherently hate guns, firearms. So as they take more control of government institutions, you can see now the laws that are being passed right now that are being pushed through because you have a lot of control by one side of the argument, and you're not getting fair debates on, for example, you have one side of the way people think kind of controlling everything right now, and statistics starts getting thrown out about gun violence. But then when you dig into it, you find out that a good portion of that is self-inflicted suicides. Well, that's different than or gang violence being lumped in with mass shootings now, so that they can throw these statistics out in the media and say, well, there was this many mass shootings, and you think this is like Freddie or someone going into a school and shooting kids up or in a mall, and it's not. So, but these are the people who started there. Now they're here and they're driving policy, and now we're having to fight. I was taught hunter safety in school.
mm-hmm.
I shot bow and arrows in my gymnasium in school. You could never do that now. Those you know what I mean? Like hunting was just part of life in my home and in my school. Everybody hunted. Everybody's dad hunted. Now you got people that think like the grocery store are actually growing the eggs. Like they don't even understand that they come from a farm. They think the store produces the milk. Because
again,
society has changed.
Again, when I see those videos, I automatically say troll. Like we all learn, like in third grade, second grade, whatever. Like,
Yeah, but I think when people are buried into TikTok and not They're
Again,
just
I think
being manipulated by
you're
the
seeing
machine.
trolls.
I think some of it, sure. But I can see the changes from what it used to be like, how guns weren't a bad thing. You weren't afraid to say, yeah, I have a rifle. And now you don't want anyone, if you have a shotgun, you don't even want anyone to know it. You know, you're one of them MAGA people, you know, you're a you're a homegrown terrorist. They want to act like anyone with a red hat on is gonna look at,
No,
we tried to overthrow the government
they can-
January 6th.
They can try to push that narrative, but statistics speak for themselves.
Right. I'd like to see how many schools teach hunter safety.
Okay, maybe not. You're right. I don't know. They didn't teach it when I went to school, but
Yeah, they taught it in mine. I took it right at school.
But what I'm saying is there are more states now than have ever had constitutional carry.
They're starting. Yeah.
There's more states now than ever where you can at least acquire a permit to carry a gun.
Right. Because of pushback.
And that's unheard of.
Because we do see these things, and we are saying, hey, wait, this law doesn't make any sense. Why changing that is not going to have any impact on crime? You know, because look, at common sense dictates, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Law-abiding people that obey laws, or try to mostly throughout their life, are not robbing banks. They're not carjacking people. Pass whatever law you want. The only one who obeys the law are law-abiding people. And law-abiding people with a gun are not a threat to anyone except a criminal, maybe.
Right.
So that our Second Amendment was trampled so bad, it should have never been 10 years ago, it should have never even been allowed to get that bad. And I'm telling you, 30 years ago, it was thought of, you can look at Joe Biden himself, how his stance have changed over the last 30 years where guns were, because I'll guarantee 30 years ago, he was pro-NRA, and, he wasn't, and then 10 years ago it was, well, you don't really need an automatic or semi-automatic. You go out on the porch with the double barrel and fire a couple shots off in the air, to now he doesn't want anyone to have a gun at all.
Well, I'm not going to rag on him for his opinion changing, because I'm sure if you went back to shit I said 10 years ago,
everybody evolves, sure. But I don't like where his opinions changed, because that's my constitutional right.
I get that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm also not naive to the fact that automatic weapons were banned under who? Reagan.
Right.
Right? And
I'll call his ass out too.
And
the Brady bill, and the assault weapons bans that they've had.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We're going through another one in this state right now that's probably going to go through, and it shouldn't.
So I'm not going to sit here and just say it's always Democrats that are banning.
Oh man, Republicans they'll go along if they think they're going to get a vote out of it. There's.
And I go back to Trump with the bump stock.
Yeah.
I don't own one, never owned one, never fired one. I
but
have no desire. Right. I have no desire to own one. They're the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But if somebody wants to own one,
right.
I don't care.
There are videos online where these kids in Chicago were taking Glock handguns, and I don't know exactly what piece that they're adding to this, but it turns them into fully automatic handguns.
Yeah.
Okay. Those kids are not going to go and legally buy a bump stock and then go and shoot each other. And they got fully automatic handguns illegally. So pass whatever law you want. Criminals they're smart. They figure out ways around it, and they're not going to obey the law. So I don't mind people evolving, but I can see the country has changed from basically being pro-gun to a big portion of it being very anti-gun, and now you're getting pushed back, saying, hey, whoa, so you're seeing states start to come to surface with constitutional carry. I love it. So, I wish every state was that way.
So who's more of an outlaw in Pro-2A then?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. These are difficult things,
man. Who's really flying the middle finger to the man?
Right. No, the 17-year-old kids I seen in Chicago with fully automatic Glocks, that was
They're the one.
even I'm a gun enthusiast. I love firearms. I love to shoot. I love just to sport shoot. Just shooting clay pigeons, target shooting. I love to hunt. I cannot convert my handgun to a fully auto. I don't know how they did it. This 17-year-old kids, the little gang members doing this, and I'm like, they're smart because I don't know how to do that. And I was raised in a home with firearms. I've owned firearms my entire adult life. I don't know how they did it.
I don't care to. Ammo's too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, they're shooting the shit off in the air. Just crazy. But yeah, they're little rebels. No doubt. I wish they wouldn't shoot each other.
Like I said, who's more defiant? Who's really sticking the middle finger to the face of the man?
I just think, I guess what I want to do is to try to affect culture the best I can, to try to influence the country to be the kind of place I want my son raised in.
Yeah.
So that he can have some of the experiences I had growing up that are some great memories, like taking hunter safety class in school.
Had I been raised in my dad's era, I wouldn't have the right to carry a gun in this state.
I understand that there are good things happening now. The pendulum swings back and forth, and it swung too far one way. Now it's starting to swing back the other, and that's good. But there are experiences you had, or your dad had, that you shared with your dad, fishing, hunting, whatever it may be.
But regulations were different too, and
because now you're saying
snagging salmon was legal in his day.
Right.
It wasn't legal in my day.
I bet you he wish it would have been.
But
boy, son, we used to have fun doing.
I don't know. I guess
because I think you're right.
That's my progressive side. That we have to keep forging
that
forward.
You can carry a gun right now, but soon you're not going to be able to own an AR-15. So yeah, they're giving it to us on one end.
Well,
but
we'll see.
And you say that you have the right, but our state's not constitutional carry.
No, it's not.
Right? So we have to pay for our Second Amendment.
And I have a problem with that.
Yeah, so do I.
Well, yeah, you're right. To carry a gun, you have to pay for it. And I have a right for that because I believe that it keeps, I don't want to say poor people that don't have as much money from being able to exercise their right.
I mean, we won't lie, it's expensive. You're hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, at the minimum, what, like $300?
Yeah, it's like $300 at minimum.
Yeah, not including the price of the gun or anything,
ammo,
just
and then any training, any additional training that you want to take.
Just to obtain a license to carry in the state, it's going to cost you right around $300.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a problem with that.
It's not right.
Right.
I wish this state was constitutional carry. Right. And I also see other states like California, New York, pushing very strict gun laws that are even when you see the Supreme Court coming out pushing back saying, well, that's too far, and you see these states saying, yeah, whatever, we're going to do what we want anyways, it's a scary time for pro-2A people because, yeah, it looks like we're gaining a lot more rights than what our fathers had, but, are we? Because now you're going to be registering a lot more than just a handgun, and registration almost always leads to confiscation. Right. It just does. Eventually, it does. And when society swings really far left, that's what will happen. And I'm trying to push it back more towards the middle because I'm liberal on some shit. You know what I mean? Like, conservatives are wrong. I was watching Bill O'Reilly bitch and complain about people who smoke weed. And because they're gonna rot their brain out, and then they're gonna be on all these other drugs, and I'm like, you know what I see? This I'll tell you, this is where I'm going to get real liberal right now. They just caught a guy in New York with 22,000 pills, fentanyl pills. Fentanyl would not be a thing if they did not have drugs illegalized. Fentanyl would not be a thing if doctors were still prescribing patients something for their pain.
Well,
now you got people who are self-medicating for their pain and being addicted. You got all these drugs that are illegal. So then China makes that, because these things are created in China. They're taken to Mexico and they're smuggled up through the border. An epidemic, like way more kids are dying from drug overdoses from fentanyl in this last year than any firearm ever. Like, that's not even close. And if anyone wants to get on TV and say, well, if it saves one child's life, you want to save a child's life, get rid of this fentanyl shit. Because I just seen pictures of this that looks like rock candy. And if you had a bowl of it, any kid would walk in there, grab a piece and eat it and die. You know? Craziness. So conservatives with this war on drugs was bullshit. They filled prisons up with people who had marijuana. Come on, man. That was the dumbest hill to die on. So, there's something I'm more in the middle. I think I'm more like you. I'm not real right wing. I'm not left wing. I'm kind of in the middle. And I think the majority of people in the country really are. If people were comfortable to speak out and willing to speak out, I think you would see a lot more people are in the middle. They're a little conservative on some things. They're a little liberal on others. I want the government to be smaller. I want it to be more fiscally responsible. I don't want my taxes raised so that, they can be irresponsible. But I don't want people thrown in jail because of marijuana either. Like, I think it's good that they're legalizing it. I hope they do it federally. I think it's stupid right now that federally it's still viewed illegally when the majority of states are. Yeah, can you bring that up so that?
Well, it looks like I'd heard that whole thing was kind of a hoax.
I read it in multiple sites. Because at first I couldn't believe it. And that wasn't even, those are just the little candy tablets. I seen a bowl of it that it was baggies that looked like rock candy, like what my mother used to make through the holidays.
See.
And you break it up on the tray and it, but it's bad stuff. And a lot of people I think I read it was over 100,000 people overdosed this year.
I know there are a lot of people that overdosed, but I don't know that the candy thing was legit or not.
I seen it on multiple sites. I guess it's the internet. Can you ever really fully know? Even when media says it, look,
I don't know that the fentanyl thing is. You're telling me that the majority of it is people just trying to self-medicate?
No. I think that's a portion of it.
Okay.
I think
I understand it's people getting high.
Right. I think when you took marijuana away from people, every time you take some prohibition, right? They took alcohol away from people. People made moonshine. They made stronger alcohol. Yeah. I can make moonshine. I've done it lots of times, and I'm telling you, I can make 160 proof alcohol easily. Way stronger than anything you're going to buy in the store. So what did you accomplish by making that illegal and throwing people in jail? It had a negative impact. It just pushed people to the next darkest thing. You're pushing them down the rabbit hole. I'm saying if people were free to just smoke weed 30 years ago, you probably wouldn't have had as many people on harder drugs. So I think that the Republicans and conservatives are wrong in this argument, trying to illegalize drugs and punish anyone who, was a marijuana user and throw them in jail. I think just push people down to get the shit on the street. And I do believe there's a percentage of these people that are self-medicating, because now it's extremely hard for anyone who has chronic back pain or other issues. And I know some of it can be controlled with diet and exercise too. I agree with that 100%. But when you got hit by a fucking car and your bones don't heal right and they hurt, and you can't get medication from the doctor anymore because, people get addicted to opiates, then they buy fentanyl.
Think somebody that's got injuries like that probably has pain management.
No, not very good. And I can speak.
And I think what happens is too many people try these things, get hooked on them, then they go to their doctor and be like, oh, my knee or my back.
There's some of that.
And the doctor's like, really, like, we did an MRI, like,
But I know for fact people, myself being one, that have proven injuries that are known, that they're proven. There's MRI imaging, there's CT imaging, there's a long history of these injuries, and these people cannot get adequate pain management from their doctor. You're better off having your doctor manage this, saying, look,
then they need to get
we
different
can
doctor.
see the MRI. It's not even the doctor now. I spoke to my doctor about it. It's all the doctors are, when I was cut open from my sternum to my pelvis, I got 3 days worth of pain relief medication for that. 3 days. And follow up with your family doctor. So I had to call the family doctor. I was supposed to be on bed rest at that point and had to drive or ride because I couldn't drive. So I rode in a vehicle for an hour to get to the doctor the next day to get another week's worth. And they're only legally allowed to prescribe 2 weeks worth, even though 20 years ago I was given that pain management for the rest of my life. They knew that, I would probably be on this to alleviate that pain. So I get up every day. I could barely move. Now, there are some things I can do to help that, but there's injuries there that no matter what I do, it's not going to take it away. And you are absolutely told by doctors now, well, there's just a certain amount of, you got to live with it. You got to live with it because legally they're not allowed to prescribe that for these injuries anymore. So I know people then that self-medicate. And they're gonna, one way or another. They're either gonna buy the shit on the street or they're gonna drink alcohol. People find a way, and I think you were better off having a doctor manage this with you. To sit down and say, okay, this is your injury. We're gonna give you this. You get to take 2 of these a day. You're taking 4 because you want to get high. You're gonna run out, and then you don't get no more, right? Because you're being managed by your doctor versus just being told, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you now. And a lot of people are being told that.
I know, but the doctors mismanaging this is what led us to
there's
the spot.
laws.
Not right, because of doctors that mismanage this.
Bureaucrats that used to be doctors that
mismanaged these pain clinics, right? They mismanaged it. It got out of control. Because you could go from this pain clinic, prescription, go that one, that just all you had to say is my back hurt.
Yep. And everything was a paper trail. There was no database. But I'm saying now there is. Like, you know what I mean? If I go to CVS, I can't then go to Walgreens. Like they can look in there in real time and see when I filled the script. Hell, now I get AI calling me, sending me text messages saying your script's about ready to run out. Do you want us to fill it for you? So there's no reason to make this shit illegal the way it is. I think because now they make more money on the other end.
That pendulum swung the other way, right? It swung too far in one direction, so they overcompensated. And it swung back the other way now.
My whole point being, I think there are better hills for conservatives to die on than bitching about people smoking weed. I think is the least of the problems. But, there's a lot of conservatives that feel that's a gateway drug. And
that's stuck again. They want their kids to have a version of the childhood they grew up in, right?
Right.
That's where they find comfort. That's what they understand. So they want that to keep going in that same direction.
So I'm definitely in the middle somewhere. I'm a little conservative on some things. I'm a little liberal on others. I don't know. I think the majority of people are probably like that too.
I'm sure they are, and I'm sure most people have a certain topic that they,
are passionate about,
and other areas where they're just, in the middle, right?
Right.
Fence post sitters, right?
Yeah.
Just
Sure.
Kind of like me with that abortion thing. I'm just like, man, whatever. It has zero effect in my life. I pay zero attention to it.
Where there's other things that you're more compassionate about. Yeah.
Right. Like paying attention to my kids in school. You know? But again, what other people do with their kids in school, I could care less. Right. It has zero effect on me what books in that library. Again.
Yeah, I think we'll probably always disagree a little bit on that one.
Fine.
But
that's the whole point of this. It's not to change your mind.
Right.
I'm just expressing how I feel about
this is
said
just
topic.
letting these people watch two knuckleheads kick something back and forth.
It's not to convince anybody. It's not changing.
Hopefully, if anything, I hope that by the end of this, they're all confused. Because if they are, then that means they're thinking. Right?
Again,
and they're wrestling with the same.
There's no script here.
Things,
there's no editing. There's no.
No, this is a one and done. We shoot it in real time and
fleshing ideas. And tomorrow I might sleep on this and think differently about some of this shit. I'll be like, man, okay, I can kind of see where.
These are very complicated, hard things, and like I said,
it doesn't mean anybody's right or anybody's
man.
wrong.
I've changed my mind so many times. Like some of these subjects, I have not been able to nail myself down 100% on because I'm just. It depends, they're complicated. They're very difficult things, and I think if people can see you and I sit down and talk about these difficult things and disagree a lot and agree a lot, but respect each other's opinions back and forth, then it should demonstrate like we should all be able to do this. Right?
It doesn't mean I think any differently.
Right?
You're still my buddy. We're still going to go eat food and laugh and watch TV. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to let your opinion on abortion go, well, if you can't see my way, then you got to leave. No, I don't give a shit.
It was funny. One of the stories I used to tell was, I'm a Christian, and lately even a better practicing one. I'm trying. And one of the great friends I had was an atheist. And man, just a great buddy. Had great debates, Man, we would just debate it back and forth. It was fun. It really, I really enjoyed our conversations a lot. And he challenged me. He asked me some hard shit sometimes. I remember once he told me, if more Christians were like you, I'd probably be one. And I said, you got to be careful because you're starting to sound like a Christian, Yeah, really good guy. We had a lot of good debates. I don't run from people who are different than me. I don't mind it. I don't want people to ever take away watching one of our shows and think like I'm some homophobe bigot or something. I'm not.
No.
Not at all. Like I can be friends with anybody as long as they treat me with respect. I'll treat them with respect. I have no problem with that. I'm just trying to give some pushback to some of the changes in the country I think are happening, I believe are happening, that I don't like. That's all.
Yeah, I don't like the censorship. I do not like censorship. I do not believe that.
It's not right.
Unless it's something very egregious that we can all agree on should not be on the internet. Which I think there's a couple key things we can all agree on that should not be on the internet. Outside of that,
let people talk about how they feel. Whether it's about the coof or the Fauci ouchie or nuclear war with another country.
We can't be outraged and be so sensitive. If you don't like it, something someone's talking about, turn the channel.
Yeah, or you know what? Debate them.
Yeah.
Tell them why you think they're wrong.
Well, kind of like what we did here about that person showing that video and their opinion on it.
Right.
That's what I was trying to communicate here. Right.
Right.
Was the same thing.
Yeah.
Was just how my feelings about.
I tried and not, like you, ever really believe anything at face value. Not anymore. You know what I mean?
No, I've been duped too many times.
Deep fakes now that they. Even seeing it on video, you can't even believe what your eyes see anymore, or the way the video's edited, the way it was shot, the way how many times have we seen back to blue, baby?
Right.
Cops doing something that looked very bad, but then when you see the whole video in the context, it's okay, this kind of changes it a little, or a narrative that's painted, but then when you see the video and what the cops actually did, it's like, oof, wow, that ain't okay. So even with media, I try to, especially if it's something I'm passionate about, to really dig, confirm it in multiple areas. Don't ever just believe everything you guys see or read or hear, because
And I wasn't shitting on the military earlier when I was talking about this particular individual.
Right.
All I'm saying, my point to it was, like I can't imagine what's like being given orders. You gotta go do this. You think you're doing stuff for the right thing, whether it is or not.
Right.
That's
That's policymakers that
right,
are doing
right. That are
right?
making these
Yeah.
decisions for these people. So
Sure.
I don't know what that's like. All
No,
right,
me either.
but my point was like, I think I made my point earlier.
Yeah.
Anyways,
And I think some of them are bad.
I respect
you know.
anybody that's had to go and do that.
I'll tell you a story just to kind of confirm some of that was when I was younger, I met a guy that had spent a tour in the Middle East
Mm-hmm.
and we were in like a pawn shop thrift store and his cousin owned it. I was friends with his cousin and he came in and we got introduced and he was telling stories about kicking doors in and stuff in Iraq and pulled out a cell phone video that they were recording him
Mm-hmm.
and some of the guys he was with recording each other doing that and shooting people like right with their damn phone and was like gleeful about it, laughing about it. Like was definitely one of them people that was twisted and just made it appear that was one of the purposes of joining the military was so that you could do stuff like that and not get in trouble. And I remember just being sickened because at that point, anyone that was a veteran or served was a hero in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We were
Mm-hmm.
raised with the stories of the greatest generation, storming the beaches of Normandy, and these selfless people that gave their lives for other people to have freedoms or to save other people from being thrown in furnaces. And to hear this kid go on and on about, it was hurtful. But it was the first time I got a dose of reality of not everybody that put the uniform on is a good guy. Not every cop is a good cop. Not every doctor is a good doctor. Not every politician is a good politician. So I'm sure there are some people who've done combat. Well, I know it for a fact, and are not remorseful. And what his exact motivations were, I don't know. It could be just playing to the base. I'll give you that. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I would hope that they're come from a genuine place of just
Yeah, I don't
caring
know.
about
I don't
life.
know the individual either.
Yeah.
I don't, like you said. You shared.
But they're good questions.
You
right?
shared a couple of videos
Yeah.
with me, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just, you're free to have your opinion,
Yeah.
but man,
You raise good questions.
You're, when you're saying that, this person doesn't have a right to choose.
Oh, and I'll tell you, man, like he said something about, wanting to be locked in a room with that guy. And for a second I thought, like he meant like he'd rough him up. And then that super chat that he got was a liberal calling him out saying, you're against the murder of this child, but you want to murder this guy who is someone else's child. And he goes, well, I wouldn't say, well, I mean, I guess I kind of was saying that. And I thought, wow.
Right. That was
that's kind of harsh.
You just made my point for me.
But I don't know the context of what he was thinking, what he meant when he said that. I'm not gonna say a moral level.
The guy in the video didn't kill anybody.
No, he was just celebrating someone being murdered, right?
Right. He didn't kill anybody. You know what I'm saying? But then this guy wants to hurt him.
I wouldn't have went that far, right? Like I said, if someone smacked him on the beak, I mean, would I shed a tear for him? Probably not, but because I think he's an asshole, and you put it out there if you're an asshole to people, and someone, but what
it doesn't.
How he felt about it, he took it maybe further than he should have. I don't know. I don't know if I couldn't tell. I went back and I rewatched it again because I couldn't tell, was he being serious or was he being kind of sarcastic about it? Like I don't know. I don't know the context of what. I wish he would have elaborated deeper on that, whether he really wanted, like, this, are you calling for this guy to, like, be killed? Like, is that what the hell? Because that ain't right. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't right either. If that's truly what he meant by that, I don't know. You know, I wish I had more. I wish he would have dug into that a little deeper, you know.
Depends on what his motive is. If his, if he truly is, some kind of government operative that's trying to intentionally rile up a base and go get someone to go do something violent, then
I like
he's
your
planting
way of
a
thinking.
seed, right?
I like your way of thinking.
He's planting a seed.
Because now you're getting into my domain of, I don't trust any of it. You know, right. I seen on January 6th, the guy all over the place, all over video saying, come on, stare these barricades down. Let's get these fuckers. And, and he never went to jail, did he?
And shame on those guys for not saying, no,
right,
we're not doing this.
And
this is the U.S. Capitol building. Right. We're not destroying our own shit like other people do.
Just because the other side burns shit down, we're not going to do that.
No, we have more respect for our laws and our government than that.
I agree. Should have protested.
And they allowed themselves to get duped in to this by an agitator, by a couple agitators. Maybe they didn't initially start it, but they sure in the hell, I've watched enough videos. Yeah. It wasn't 3 FBI agents, okay?
Right.
There was a lot of people smashing windows trying to break down barricades.
Sure.
They allowed themselves to get into this.
Just like what we were going to talk about Whitmer. So
let's go, son.
We got a couple minutes.
We got a couple minutes. Let's go.
Let's do that. I mean, there you go, agitators, right?
Right.
I just seen, they convicted what they called the spiritual leader, and he got what was it, up to 22 years? I think he got sentenced day before yesterday.
I saw something that one of them did get sentenced. I just caught a
it was one got 16 years. I think the other one was 22 years or 18 years or 22 years in prison.
I'm not going to make any friends right now.
No, go ahead, give it out. Let's do it.
Like, I can't really feel too bad for these guys because again, they allowed themselves to get talked into these situations.
You agree?
They took the ride in the car.
Yep. They got
the guys that didn't get convicted. They didn't take the ride.
No.
And I think the decision of the jurors was correct with those guys.
Yeah.
The ones that didn't get any charges.
Yeah, because they're talking shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Yeah. They're going to the range. They're shooting. They're talking shit. Lots of people are real. Like, half of the state of Michigan is pissed off about what's happened to the state.
Yeah.
The other half agrees with it, but half of it disagrees with it, and they're angry, and they don't like what the governor did. To have some guys sitting around, shooting the shit and, talking a bunch of smack, you shouldn't go to prison for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? You should have the right to speak your mind freely, and I think you're right. When they went in the car ride with, taking pictures of the home, it showed intent. It put things into realistic motion, we'll say. Even though they were being led by the FBI, which is just, if you were dumb enough to let these guys dupe you,
right,
it was wrong with the FBI. The whole thing stinks. Like,
it's complicated, right? Because part of me is glad, right, that they're at least out there. This is so fucked up right now.
It's so
fucked up that I'm even speaking on behalf, telling the FBI they're doing a good job.
Wow.
This is bad.
Oh man, we are in the end of the world, baby. Right. Repent, the end is near.
on one hand, I'm glad that they're out getting idiots off the street that would even entertain these things.
I don't want. Well, entertain whatever you want. Just don't put it into motion, right? Don't start trying to make it happen, right? Because I don't like that governor at all. I think she's a disgrace, but I don't want her to get hurt. I don't want anyone to kidnap her. I just want people to vote her out of office and vote for someone different.
No, because they probably secured her another victory.
They did
by pulling that bullshit off. By being idiots.
And it polarized the other side even more.
Right. Because then she played the victim card.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So I am mostly in agreement with you that I think the guys that went in the car took the
I
ride,
think they were procuring
taking
some,
pictures,
and I think they were acquiring some goodies, some shit
yeah.
they were actually making from some
yeah,
transactions
one
or
of the
something.
FBI agents had given them a bomb that was
Right. You know what I'm saying?
it
Like,
wasn't
real.
real. It was a fake bomb,
Right.
but so these guys, I think they showed deeper intent than more
Right.
than just smack talking
Right.
shit. You know what I mean? Like anyone should be able to say, "Look, I wish a meteor would fall from space and smite my governor, whatever state you're in." You should be able to say that. If that's how you feel, you don't like someone, fine, say that you don't like them or wish that they weren't in office.
Well,
but when you start putting things like that, from what I understand, and I've read some articles on it, like there was talk about not just talk, but intent, motion, things put into motion to kidnap her, to do bad things to her. Like, come on, man. What?
Right.
Just go to the fucking booth and vote for someone different.
All the effort they put into that, they could have been going around.
Been like Acorn knocking on doors.
Right. Right.
Hey, vote for this person because that one sucks.
I honestly didn't think we were going to agree on this one.
No, I think we agree on it more than...
Initially, I was like, this is bad. And it is
part
of me, it's still bad
that FBI was crooked.
That the FBI...
How they handled that.
I go back and forth on this. This is one where I struggle, like you. I kind of bounce back and forth.
It's hard.
It's like, I don't like... I do and I don't like that the FBI is doing this. I'm split right in the middle.
I want the FBI taking bad guys off the streets.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
As long as it's being, like in this situation, I think it worked out. Like the guys that didn't do anything, they're free.
But the FBI and the district attorney brought charges against those people, and that was wrong because a lot of them people were just shit talkers on the range. Right. They hadn't done anything. They didn't take any pictures. They weren't really planning. They were just hate talking someone who they didn't like. Right. So I think, the FBI has shown the ability to abuse their power, obviously, badly between this January 6th rioting and Twitter and everything else that they're...
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
But I want law enforcement taking bad people off the streets. I don't want, regardless of what political party you affiliate with, I don't want you abducting people.
No,
and torturing them.
People are out there and they'll do it for that reason. Why wouldn't they do it if your ex-wife offered them $100,000 to fucking smoke you?
Right.
If these idiots are willing to
do
this.
You know what? Yeah, it's great because you know what? It's our side's winning. But you know what? Sooner or later, the other side's going to be in power, and then they're going to do it right back anyways. You don't win.
No.
You don't win ever.
Not through violence.
No.
Through conversation.
Yes.
Through the ballot box.
Through debate. Through...
Not smashing windows at the fucking Capitol building and doors.
Burn
and
shit down. And you know what I mean? Like, I understand why conservatives were so frustrated when you watched a whole summer of fiery but mostly peaceful protests. And you seen when they burnt the church up across the street from the White House. They had to evacuate the president into a bunker. They burnt the guard shack to the ground. But that wasn't, how come them people didn't all get thrown in prison? You know what I mean? But people in January 6th who did basically the same exact thing, maybe less than, you know what I mean? There's still people sitting in jail that haven't even been able to talk to a lawyer yet. Like, this is wrong. This is politicizing the FBI, and it was supposed to be blind. Justice should be blind. Yeah. And that's all I want. I just want it fair across the board. Look, if President Trump broke the law and did some nefarious shit and you can prove it, throw his ass in jail. I don't care. Yeah. But throw Biden in jail, too, for the nefarious shit he did that you can prove. Not just one side. You know what I mean? Yeah. Put it across the board. I think presidents, if you want to run this country, you should be someone that should have integrity. Yeah. Are you going to be perfect? No. Would I not vote for you because you did a line of cocaine once in your life? No, I don't give a shit. Because none of us are clean.
No.
We've all We all got some skeletons.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I'm not going to bone you for being a normal human, but have some integrity, man. Don't be a criminal. Don't be a mob boss.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting. And I don't care what side. It's both sides. You know what I mean? Maybe Bush wasn't really a mob boss. Maybe he was just dumb. Maybe he truly was as dumb as what people said, and he just kind of, went along with it. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But I know what he did was bullshit. I know the Patriot Act is being used against Americans right now, which is what people said when they were trying to push that through. And they said, whoa, this is going to get used. Oh, bullshit. They'll never use this against American citizens. And now they are. So, I think that, the criticism, I think you can throw it on both parties.
Absolutely.
Again, when you have politicians that's been in office for 48 fucking years, time to go away, man. Go away. Get some new people in here with new ideas. Maybe people that haven't been corrupted yet. And, put some term limits on. So about the time when they're starting to get corrupted and they're, before they're a gazillionaire, get them on, all right, you're done. Let's put someone else in here. I don't know. There's got to be a better way of doing it. But, yeah. Whitmer thing, we pretty much agree on. I'm surprised.
I'm too.
Because I really thought, ooh, this would be a good one.
Yeah.
No, I agree. As much as I dislike the FBI,
Yeah,
it was good that those guys went to jail. I think I'm sorry that it wasn't your idea. It was the FBI's idea in the first place, but you went along with it. Right. You ran around with a fake bomb. You drove by what you thought was her house and took pictures. That's movement.
Yeah.
That's not talking.
Right.
You need to go to jail. Good riddance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You're just, Darwinism, you know what I mean? Like natural selection. You're that dumb. Good.
I agree.
Get them off the street. Because, if it wasn't her they'd have hurt someone else.
Yeah. That's what worries me. That they're willing to go to that extent.
Yeah.
How easily could they be talked into something else?
And I evolved to that, like you. Because at first I thought, no, man, I hated the whole, no, you got to let these guys out. This is wrong. But the more I really kind of calmed my emotions down and just kind of thought about this, I don't want people like that on the street. Yeah. I don't, not when you're putting plans in motion to, abduct people, really.
Yeah.
Just because I don't, 90% of the politicians I don't like. There's only a handful of them that I think are decent. I think the majority of them are just shit people that sold us out. They worry about lining their pockets. So what, are you gonna abduct both parties of what are you gonna accomplish, man? Nothing. All you did was make your argument null and void now. No one's gonna listen to it. No one's gonna take it serious. Now everyone thinks anyone with a red hat is a homegrown terrorist. Good job, guys.
Right.
Good job.
And those the fact that wow.
Yeah. Once that I think I'd be just, defending the FBI. But
yeah, me neither.
That's a nasty pill to swallow. It's like that shitty aspirin you take and it's going to get rid of your headache, but God, it tastes like shit going down. That's what this is like right now. Ugh. I hate to do it, but I'm glad they're in jail.
Well, let's go cook some food.
Yeah.
All right.
So be safe, everybody, man. New Year's Eve, come on. Let's rock the new year in right. And I don't know. Hey, man, why don't you guys put in the comments some resolutions, and then when we get in our next video, we'll give out some of ours maybe, because I got a few we'll get into.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around this long. Make sure you like, share, subscribe.
Yeah.
We're on all the socials.
I think almost on everything.
Under Bob and Dave podcast. All right. Peace and love, everyone.